altogether, I would say I was using methamphetamine almost 5 years.
Yeah.
I missed that much time.
So what did your addicted life look like, though? I mean, like, what was every day? Was it every day trying to get more?
Yep, every day. When you are caught up in that world, that's all you know.
Yeah.
And when you feel that low, when you feel that shame and all of the, just
No value.
that, like so lonely, you don't know what else to do, especially when you're having to leave your kids and you see them at the door screaming and crying for you, and there's nothing that you can do about it.
Yeah.
So a lot of times what you do is you go and get high.
I want to welcome everybody back to Covenant Podcast. We hadn't done one in so long, but we're excited today to have one of my sisters in the Lord, Miss Lena, with us today, and to get started back on the podcast journey. She's going first, and so we're excited about that. And she said she was a little nervous, but I'm trying to put her at ease and going to throw her some slow pitch softballs. She relates to the sports analogies, but we're just here for her to tell her story and what Jesus has done in her life. I told her I was going to break it down into 3 different parts. Well, where'd you come from? How did you end up getting in the mess you got in? And how'd you get out? And so we're going to start with easy questions like, tell us a little bit about how you grew up, your family life and all of that. So, boom, you're up.
All right. So I actually grew up in Maiden, just right down the road. I don't like to dwell on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, Brandy was my role model of church growing up, even as a little girl. Anytime I wanted to go to church, that's who
Brandy,
I went with.
Who works on our staff here at the church, Brandy Mercer. Go ahead.
So, I mean, my mom worked a lot. My dad, he was disabled. He played golf all the time. So, I mean, really, I focused all my time on cheerleading is what I did, to be honest. Yeah. I did that for a very long time, 10 and a half years, I think.
Yeah.
But pretty much, I mean, I guess you could say I had a normal childhood with both parents in the home. Yeah. But at the same time, there was still some mental and physical abuse that happened to me.
Right.
So Brandy always tried to take me to church as much as she could as possible to try to, I guess, teach me those right things. And I was just one of those kids that followed the world. Yeah. Just wanted to fit in and be liked and all that pretty much is, I mean, that's just how it was for, I'd say, until I was almost 30.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
So when you were basically in high school, you were semi-normal kid involved in the school activities and stuff like that?
I cheered for Maiden High School.
Yeah.
And I actually ended up getting pregnant my freshman year. I ended up getting pregnant. Yeah. I miscarried.
Yeah.
And I mean, I pretty much hung out with the wrong crowd in high school.
Yeah.
I didn't hang out with the cheerleaders. Yeah. to me,
just cheer with the cheerleaders.
I just cheered with them. Yeah. I guess because I always looked at myself differently than them. Even though I always wanted to be liked, but I ended up going towards the wrong crowd. Yeah. Is all it was. Yeah. So, I mean, of course, in freshman, sophomore year in high school, I'm, dabbling into marijuana and alcohol. And, of course, pills, they weren't that big back then like they are now.
Right.
But pretty much I just wanted to be liked. I wanted to be loved, I guess, because I didn't get that at home.
Yeah.
I chased that for so long, even with my daughter's dad.
Yeah.
I chased him, even though that was not the right path to take.
Right.
Because I just
looking for love in all the wrong places.
That's pretty much all it was.
You could write a country song.
I probably could. I really probably could.
I think that one's already been written, by the way.
Yeah.
But, so there came a season in your life. I know this because I know her. She goes to our church. There came a season in her life where you went from marijuana and some pills to a more serious addiction that's literally spins your life. I don't know what word to use, but it
spins your life around.
Out of control, basically. So
it took it in a complete spiral.
How did that start, and where did it end up? This is the hard part of the story.
Emma she was just a baby.
How old is Emma now?
She will be 11 next week.
Good Lord.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was probably about 4 or 5 months old. And we were actually, me and her dad, we were coming here on and off.
Yeah, I
mean, you've known my whole journey, really.
Yeah.
But one day, me and him went out with some friends. My mom had Emma, and that was the first time I ever tried methamphetamine. And I was able to leave it alone for a little bit. He ended up getting locked up, going to prison for a little bit. And I finally said, okay, I'm done chasing you. Because I even told him, you get locked up, you lose your girls.
Yeah.
Like, I can't keep doing it. He had already been in jail, I want to say 3 or 4 times since Emma had been born that March.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Emma moved down to Florida for a little while. We came back around Christmas because my stepdad had a stroke. That scared me because that man he's always been like a very good father figure to me.
Right.
And he's very protective over both of my kids.
Yeah.
More so Emma, that's his girl.
Yeah.
But my husband now, he came over to, when me and Emma came back, me and him had talked the whole time we were in Florida. And so when he showed up 2 days after Christmas, he never left.
Yeah.
But it is my fault, of introducing it to him because it got brought back up around me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I blame myself for it, but he has forgiven me and I have forgiven myself.
Right.
And it took us a long time to do that, to be honest. Pretty much we were able to let go of it and we moved away to Tennessee for a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had Asher. That boy is, he's spitball of fire.
Fireball Asher.
Yes, he is. And, I was thinking the other day, too, about both of my kids, of how much of blessing. And you always hear that your kids are brought to you in a season that you need them the most, not when they need you the most.
Right.
And I never realized that Emma was brought to me during a season of my addiction starting.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize it until it was too late, really. Yeah. And things were good with Asher for a while. And then I moved back to North Carolina and got right back around the same wrong crowd again. And that time was the worst.
Yeah.
That's when I lost both of the kids. I handed the custody straight over to Mom.
Yeah.
And I used to be mad.
Yeah.
So angry. And I guess people don't understand either the whole aspect of when you are caught up in that world, that's all you know.
Yeah.
And when you feel that low, when you feel that shame and all of that, like so lonely, you don't know what else to do, especially when you're having to leave your kids and you see them at the door screaming and crying for you, and there's nothing that you can do about it.
Yeah.
So a lot of times what you do is you go and get high.
Yeah.
And I did. I tried more than once. It took me 3 times to get clean.
Yeah.
It did. I entered into Bethl. I was the 33rd girl actually to enter into the women's program when they very first opened the women's program in 2019.
Yeah.
And I only stayed 30 days because I'm hard-headed, But
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
it's a joke. I didn't know that.
I only stayed 30 days. I thought I had it. Yeah. I thought I was okay. And then 6 months later, I ended up going back.
Was it meth every time just about? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I relapsed within 2 weeks the first time of coming home. And then went back 6 months later and was there about 35 days that time.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, I'm good. I got this. God's behind my back, things like that. And no, sure enough, not.
How long that time?
Let's see. It's almost a year.
Wow.
So altogether, would say I was using methamphetamine almost 5 years.
Yeah.
I missed that much time.
So what did your addicted life look like, though? I mean, like, what was everyday? Was it every day trying to get more?
Yep, every day.
Stealing anything? I mean, did you ever get in
that part I didn't do.
Yeah.
I was the one. I was known to be the only one with the driver's license, legal car, legitimate. So everybody
drug your friends around to get drugs.
Yep, pretty much. And I mean, even the person that I'd get the stuff from, hey, can I use your car to go re-up? Yeah. And I'll hook you up. That's I mean, about every day.
Yeah.
I've actually, so the first time I went to Bethl, about a week or two before, there was actually a raid here at the end of Startown and Reachville Road. There's a White House. Mm-hmm. I was actually in the shower and they pulled me out.
Yeah.
Lincoln County, Homeland Security, all of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of females, they'll even tell you that's your worst nightmare. Like that's something you don't want to happen. Right. And I went through that. Yeah. Like that was scary. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting there in handcuffs, in a robe, because I just got pulled out of the shower thinking, because they're asking me, hey, where's the dope that you just went and picked up? Mm. I was like, well, it wasn't me that picked it up. So you obviously got your stories wrong. Mm. But I didn't tell them, who went and picked it up. I was like, obviously you don't know the, correct things. But the whole time in the back of my head, I'm sitting here going, where's that $3,500 that I just made yesterday? Yeah. But they got mad too, because they couldn't find no money. They couldn't find no drugs. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't have stupid written on my forehead. Yeah. Everybody always said I had a good gut. Yeah. Because I always had a gut feeling. Yeah. And back then I didn't realize that was the Holy Spirit and that was God talking to me of, hey, you need to stop. Yeah. And it took me a while to finally give in and surrender. And when that happened, that was when Emma looked at me and said, I found another family. Wow.
So I always tell people that I talk to, especially people that I'm counseling, until you finally learn that what your bottom is, you don't know how to look up, Yeah. Another analogy that I often use is there are people that you can be in a room with that they can be in a room with a snake, people that don't like snakes. And they can be in the same room with it if they don't like it, as long as they know where it is. Yeah. But people that hate snakes, if you put them in a room with a snake, they'll make a new door. Yeah. And so what addiction, to me, it comes down to this. You either don't like it, because most people, even when they're addicted, don't like that they're addicted.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I was at.
Or you learn to hate it. And when you hate it, that's probably stems from being at the bottom of your barrel. Probably stems from your baby girl telling you, I'm moving on from you. Yeah. Basically. And when that rock bottom moment happened, what happened?
That was the day. So that was at Christmas in 2021. We didn't get to see me and Robbie didn't get to see either one of the kids for Christmas. And we didn't have anything Christmas Day. We were staying at this house that was known. Everybody knew that was where the drugs were. Right. And I just remember on the December 26th, we both woke up, did not say a word to each other. We both just started packing our stuff, loaded up my car, got in it, and he goes, where are we going? And I said, let's go get your test results. We had already had our application put in with Bethl. Mm-hmm. I had already had all my test results done. We were waiting on his results. So while we were on our way to...
I mean, you have to test clean to some degree before you can enter into the program.
With Bethl, you have to be at least 7 days clean or sober, whichever, your drug is. Right. You have to pass the drug test once you get there. Mm-hmm. But the test that they want you to do is like your TB test, if you're a female, pregnancy test, your flu shot, depending on that year or the time of the year that it is. And then if you have ever used IV needles, which I had to have those results just to show that I was not or did not have Hep C. Yeah. So those are, some things that you have to have done before you can go. Right. So I called the men's campus, which they had already known me and Robbie because we had already,
you were frequent visitors.
Frequent flyers
guests.
at the time. And I called, they said, all right, we've got his test results. We'll see y'all in 4 days. We'll see y'all on the 30th. I just looked at him and I was like, okay, what are we, how are we going to do this? So we went to my mom's. We didn't get to stay that night at mom's. We actually slept in my car in the front yard at his grandmother's house. And we got up the next morning, went over to mom's, and she let us hang out there for the next few days and spend the night with the kids and, get to spend that one-on-one time and let them see us go. And I'll never forget, because I think Emma actually brought it up not long ago. She said, do you remember that argument you and Dad had the day y'all were supposed to leave for Bethl? And I'll never forget, the power went out at mom's. Robbie starts flipping out. And I looked at him, and because he was on probation at the time. And I remember looking at him going, all right, if you don't go, I'm just going to call your PO and you're just going to go. But I'm going with or without you. Yeah. And at that time, we actually had a divorce packet filled out. Like, that's how bad our marriage was. Yeah. And he got in the truck and he went. Yeah. We both did. Yeah. And never looked back. Yeah. Never. And I can't imagine going backwards now. Yeah.
How long were y'all there this time?
So we entered in December 30th. We celebrated our 7-year wedding anniversary there. In February. I graduated on his birthday. So that was 65 days. And then I stayed until about April. And then I went for about a month over to another program called Vessels of Mercy. Yeah. But I ended up coming home early from there. And that's an 18-month program. Right. But Asher needed a surgery on his ear. And it was just starting to really get a lot for my mom. So we all came to an agreement, that I had done, one whole extension. Yeah. But really I needed to go home and be mom. Yeah. It was time. And Robbie stayed until about June that year. Yeah. And I'll never forget, I came home, I was ready to try to start work and everything else. And I put in a job because I used to do in-home care for many years. And the place called me and was like, hey, we need to talk about your background. And the whole time I'm at Bethl, I kept having a feeling of, I feel like I've got a warrant out on me, because a few months prior to going to Bethl, I was riding around with Emma's real dad, and I had stuff in the car. We get pulled over, and he was the only person that knew where the stuff was, and you had to know where it was to find it. And while we're both pulled away from the car, they pulled the stuff out. And of course, I'm going to own up to it. Like, that's my stuff, yes. But by the grace of God, I did not get arrested that night. But I did, in fact, end up having a warrant. And I'll never forget, I was a total mess. I remember calling the counselor at Bethl of, I don't know, I can't handle this. I'm freaking out. And they was like, well, remember, if God needs you at the jail, there's a reason. But you will get through this. So they send me dates to prove that I had been at Bethl, that I have not been running, all this things. And the magistrate didn't even look at those papers, not once. And I remember walking to the back to go get fingerprinted and everything at Catawba County Jail. And the officer looked at me and was like, have you ever been to jail before? And I was like, no, I've never seen this side of anything. And he goes, you're handling this like somebody has been here before. And I was like, because I have God. If he wants me here, I'll be here. And he just looked at me. He was like, I've never heard anybody ever tell me that. I said, well, it's true. I was like, if I sit here and sweat it, I'm going to make it worse for myself. So, and I remember sitting there waiting on the magistrate. And that's when I really started getting nervous. And I was like, I'll do it if I have to, not really wanting to submit, but I knew if I didn't, then it would be worse. So the magistrate was like, I'm going to let you sign yourself out on a $5,000 unsecured bond. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I even looked at him like, are you sure? I was hesitant, and then I was able to go home, and that company told me, you get it taken care of and stuff, we'll hire you. So I ended up being a stay-at-home mom for a while.
Yeah.
Up until, recently.
Yeah.
Like where I'm at now in this season blows my mind.
That's true. You went from sleeping in your car to Bethl, great relationship with Jesus, got your kids, happily married, and working here.
Yeah.
At the church.
Yeah. I tell everybody all the time, I'm like, I never in my life pictured myself working with my sister in the same church.
Yeah.
And that just tells you that God has bigger plans than you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
And that's something I always never understood until here recently.
The Bible, we read scriptures like Romans 8 where it says God works all things together for good to them that are called according to his purpose, and we think that always happens for somebody else. But if we'll pay attention, what we can acknowledge is it's happened for all of us at some point in our journey, And so now my most exciting part for me, besides, she's my grandson's teacher over here at the preschool, and so I get to see her every day, But the most exciting, besides that part and him loving you and watching you with our staff, is to watch you with your kids, how much they love you, how much the time you give them, and watching them flourish is pretty cool. And then you and Robbie, obviously, you had divorce papers ready to go, and now you're like. Yeah, like you're on your honeymoon half the time. So
Well, it's like, and I think we actually said it when we did our testimony not long ago together. We might be married 10 years, but really the last 4 years is really where we're at. Yeah. Because the first 7 years first 6.5 was all addiction.
Yeah.
It was something every day. And between abuse and, in and out of jail, things like that, it wasn't a life at all. And where we're at now, having our own place, we have custody back of both kids.
Yeah.
Asher might be a handful, but we're getting his, autism took care of and everything lined out perfectly. Emma, she keeps us busy for sure with her softball.
She's a ball player.
Yes, she keeps us busy, but I wouldn't trade the season that I'm in right now for anything else.
Yeah.
Because me and Emma, we never bonded, not even as her as a baby in a way, because I went through bad postpartum. But the relationship I have with her now, I would not trade that for anything. Yeah. Like, that's my girl.
Well, you can see it when y'all are together too, and quite honestly, you think about that from a spiritual place. It could have been different. She could have resented you. She could have chosen, because of all the hurt that she literally walked in but God protected her heart too, there's no doubt, and this beautiful friendship y'all have now is fun to watch and from the distance and even though she's we call it Asher the fireball, she's got some fireball in her too.
Yeah, she does. That is for sure.
And it's funny.
And she loves the nursery just as much as I do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting here like, girl, you got to go to, you got to go.
Yeah.
And she's like, no. Yeah. She reminds me of me in a way as a child because I loved children.
Kids. Yeah.
And I guess I never thought that I would be in the child care.
Yeah.
Even though I did it.
Right.
Well,
you wondered at
through
some
high
point,
school.
You had to think, would you ever be trusted to
be
there?
And, that's another thing. Like, so some of the parents, and because I go to church here, some of, them know my story.
Yeah.
And just knowing that they're giving me the chance to prove to them and to show them that God can work on the lowest of lows.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm able to show those babies like all different kinds of love and miracles that God can do.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why I do like that Emma's in there with me, because they get to see what God restored with me and her.
Right.
And it's possible anyway.
Yeah.
Even though she struggles. I mean, she does.
Yeah.
She's got her moments, but who don't?
That's right. We all have them.
Yeah.
With all of our kids. That has nothing to do with addiction, arguing with your children.
No.
You can do it either way. But Emma
Yeah.
is a success story in and of herself, just like you and Robbie are. And it's been incredible to watch. I was thinking of one more question at least. If you had a chance to go back and speak to this 15-year-old you, what would you say? I've never seen you stunned.
15-year-old me. Okay. So that was around the time my parents split. Don't be resilient. Because that was during my rebellious.
Yeah.
I was so angry for some reason. So I would probably have to say, don't be so rebelliant.
Yeah.
Be more opening, be more open to what's around you instead of.
Because you did have some pictures even around you. I remember us spending, like, for Brandy, because she was in my small group.
Yeah.
And she works here, but, and she wasn't working here your whole journey, but she's been here for 10 years, I think now. But, but even when you were that age, she had such a heart to pray for you and have us pray for you. And so you did have some lights around you, that became eventually ones you appreciated more. But so one more question I thought of, like, this could be your moment to plug Bethl, because we've had a number of people in our church go to Bethl. I'll let her tell you a little bit about. She knows both the men, and we've had guys in the men's
We still have
side.
one.
We have one in there.
He's
now.
still there.
We have
He's doing amazing.
Yep, we have a young lady that just came home a couple weeks ago
that I helped
from the
with.
women's side that she really helped get into the program. So talk to them about Bethl. What they did, and then we'll give Bethl a heads up that you plug them and they can use your videos. So where is Bethl?
Bethl is actually located in Lenoir. So the men's campus and the women's they're about 20 minutes apart. I'll go ahead and tell you, the guys are always jealous of the women's campus.
Yeah, that's what they say.
The women's campus, all the women stay in cabins, and it's just...
They got nicer flowers.
It is so pretty up there in the mountain where they're at. And it's just, like, in all honesty, and this is what I told our girl that just came home, and I remember telling her before she went, it's only 65 days. You can get up to 4 extensions of 30 days. Don't rush coming home.
Yeah.
If you feel like you need that time, do it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it at all. And honestly, you hear all these secular programs that calling it, rehabs and things like that. That's not anything close to what Bethl is. It is literally a transformation because you are transformed from the old into the new person that God created you and wanted you to be from the very beginning when it's first.
Identity that I watch change in you and others, is their self-worth.
When you see that light, like that's what I look for is that light in the eyes. And you usually start seeing that, I'd say about right halfway through.
Yeah.
Once you start seeing that, that's how you know God's got them and you're going to get through it. And it's literally the cheapest place, $350. And that covers you for the whole time you're there.
That's unbelievable.
Like your first 65, if you do the 4 or 5 extensions, and then they have a VSP program that's an extra 6 months that you can sign on for.
Yeah. They help you. Not only do they help you every single day, it's like spiritual boot camp, but it's also encouraging.
It is.
They help you get back on your feet. They help you get back in the work world. They help you.
Yeah. They give you all
everything.
Pretty much everything is. So you have quiet time in the morning. That's your time to either just read your Bible, do a devotion, or just talk to God, whatever it is that you need in that 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Everything is literally taught from the Bible.
Yeah.
You do some videos that you'll watch.
Books
which
to
they're
read.
The videos I was always very interested in because a lot of times you don't know something that you need to heal from until you either go through class or you hear one of those videos. And then you're like, oh, we need to do an extra day of counseling, and the ladies that do the counseling, they're absolutely amazing. I still talk to them, when I need it. But I mean, we all say once you become a Bethl bubble, you're always there. But you even have work that you get to do. Like you'll have ladies do lawn care, the cooking in the kitchen, cleaning, everyday things. Even the guys. They teach you a very structured way, and it actually helps, especially for when you come home. It keeps you in that structure.
Yeah, because you had none before you went.
No,
it was survival, wasn't it?
Yep.
Kind of trying to figure out how to get high.
Yep. Pretty much. How am I going to get high? How did I eat today? Or, things like that. And honestly, I mean, I probably went days and days without eating.
Yeah.
Up until now.
That's right. Well, addiction is an evil thing the enemy has brought on the earth. But you said something a while ago that was really, really important part of what Bethl does. What I watched it doing, and I've probably watched 10, 12 people over the years go through the program is it does help identify the why. A lot of people think they're going to quit addiction or quit this or quit that or they want to know what started it. But if you figure out the why of
the root
cause of what caused you your identity, and that gets healed, and then you find your identity in Christ, your whole world flips.
Yeah, it's like you start from here and then you flip right back over.
And it's beautiful. Yeah. It's beautiful to watch. So.
And a lot of people don't realize either that it has a ripple effect. So when I was at Bethl and I'd go home, so my mom started reading the Bible more.
Yeah.
Now she's a member here.
Yeah, she's here
with
now
us.
Too. That's right.
So it made a ripple effect, and you don't realize it at first until you start seeing the small things.
That's right.
So all it takes is that one.
Yeah. And you were that one.
Yeah.
And so I guess in closing, I just want to tell you, number one, I love you to death. How proud I am of you. I knew you when you were that teenage kid.
Yeah.
And to watch you walk through the disaster that almost killed you and stole everything that you loved from your life, and then back into the freedom of Jesus, and to get to see you every day with that bubbly look on your face and your smile, and you loving on your family like you do. It's just as like the dad side of me is like, man, I'm so proud of you, and I can't wait to see where the story ends. Because there's a lot more left.
Oh, I know.
And now that you've found who you are in Christ, the story is going to just get better. And so I want to say that I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm grateful for you. And thanks for doing this with us. It wasn't that bad, was it?
No.
It was pretty easy, wasn't it? So I made it easy for you.
Yeah.
But it's you telling your story. It was you. So we appreciate that.
And that's something about my story. I've always said that I wanted to let other women know that there's hope. There's still that love there, whether you don't feel it or not. It's there.
Yeah.
And that's Bethel's. Their women campus is about to expand.
Yeah.
So women can go with children.
Yeah.
Like
that'll
that.
be awesome.
I'm excited for that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So shout out to Bethl and what they did, and shout out to you people that have loved this girl through some hard places and never given up on her. But mainly, thank you, Jesus, that you never gave up on her. And so anyway, that's Lena's story. We appreciate you guys tuning in to listen to it. We're going to do some more podcasts, so keep your eyes open. We love doing podcasts. We just had a season of busyness in some other areas, and so we're getting back to some now. So thank you for joining in with us today. Make sure you share it with other people. You never know. We did a interview with some wives of some guys a couple of years ago that had went through some addiction, and in the interview that Ryan and I got a literal email from a lady from Seattle, Washington.
Oh, wow.
That had watched it, just got up one night and was looking through YouTube videos and found our video, and it became a transformative video for her entire family.
That's awesome.
Where they all end up chasing after the Lord. So y'all never know. So share it, okay? That's my point with that. So we love you guys, and thank you for joining with us today. And y'all have a blessed week in the Lord. Thank you.